not part of the family. When my dad remarried, I became invisible. His new wife said I was his past, and her kids made sure I felt like it. They went on family vacations without me. I ate alone while they laughed at the dinner table. So I focused on school. I got scholarships, built my own life, and years later, I landed a six-figure job. Bought my first home before 28. I didn't tell them. Last month, my dad called. They were struggling. Asked if I could help the family out. I told him kindly that I was too busy with the life I built without their support. Then I hung up. Sometimes silence is the loudest revenge. Should I help my dad?
R/malicious compliance. Don't clock out late again? Okay, boss. I used to work at a restaurant where shifts always ran long, but management still expected us to clock out exactly on time. One night, I stayed an extra 20 minutes helping a coworker clean up. My manager pulled me aside and said, "You need to stop staying late. Just clock out at your scheduled time. No excuses." So the next night, I did exactly that. I clocked out at 10 p.m. sharp, even though we still had 5 tables, dishes piled up, and nobody had stocked for the next day. The morning shift got wrecked. My manager called me in furious. I said, "You told me not to stay late," so I didn't. After that, she never mentioned the clock again, and I got paid for every minute I worked. What is a moment you will never forget? One moment I'll never forget is when my dad took me to my first Lakers game. I was 8, and I wore a jersey 2 sizes too big. He let me skip school that day. We didn't tell Mom. I remember holding his hand the whole walk to the arena like I was going somewhere sacred. When the players came out, I nearly lost my mind. The lights, the crowd, the energy, it was everything. I asked if we'd see Kobe. He said, if we're lucky. I was yelling, jumping, cheering like we were in the finals. At halftime, I looked up at him and said, "This is the best day ever." He just smiled, and I swear I saw his eyes tear up a little. I don't remember who won the game, but I remember the way my dad looked at me that night, like nothing else in the world mattered but us. And now, I do the same for my son. Artish choosing beggars. I posted my old gaming chair on Facebook Marketplace for $60. It wasn't brand new, but still in great condition. A woman messaged me within 10 minutes. Her first message, "Hi, can I have it for $20? I politely said no. I was firm at $60. She replied, "But I'm a single mom. You should help people instead of trying to profit." I said, "I'm a student paying off my rent. That's why I'm selling it." Then she goes, "Well, if you're poor too, you should understand. $20 is fair." I ignored her. She messaged again an hour later. "Okay, I'll pick it up tonight, but can you deliver it too?" So let me get this straight. She wants it for $20, wants me to deliver it, and is calling me selfish. I sold it the next day for full price. The buyer even tipped me $5 for helping carry it to his car. Some people want everything for nothing. With a fall and rise of Preston Hale. Preston Hale had never ridden a public bus in his life. Why would he? His family's estate had a garage full of luxury cars, and he had his own driver by the time he was 13. At 17, Preston was the type of kid who wore designer shoes to gym class and thought budgeting was something poor people did for fun. He wasn't a bad kid. Not really. Just out of touch. When his school held a canned food drive, he sent his housekeeper to buy the donations. When a classmate couldn't afford the field trip, he loudly offered to spot them, like a charity. Preston didn't mean to offend. He just didn't get it. That all changed one summer. His father, fed up with Preston's attitude, made a bold move. "No Europe trip this year," he announced over breakfast. "You're spending the summer working." Preston laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. The next week, Preston found himself in a scratchy polo shirt, clocking in at a local hardware store his father's company quietly owned. No one there knew who he was. Just another teenage employee making minimum wage. At first, Preston sulked. He didn't understand why customers were so impatient, or why his coworkers snapped at him when he messed up inventory. "Relax," he'd say, flashing his usual smirk. But no one was impressed. Then came the turning point. One particularly hot day, a single mother came in, trying to return a faulty fan. Company policy said no returns without a receipt. She looked exhausted, clearly working multiple jobs, and her son clung to her leg. Preston watched as she begged the manager, who refused with a shrug. Something clicked. He stepped in, quietly convincing the manager to make an exception. "We've got 5 fans in stock. One of them's not gonna ruin us," he said. Later that week, he bought lunch for the crew out of his own paycheck. No flashy gestures, no Instagram posts, just pizza and gratitude. By the end of the summer, Preston had a new reputation. Still a little clueless, but humble, hardworking, and willing to listen. When school started again, Preston didn't brag about his summer. But when the canned food drive came around, he didn't just donate. He organized a team, collected from 10 neighborhoods, and loaded boxes into vans himself. For the first time in his life, Preston didn't feel rich because of what he owned. He felt rich because of what he learned.
She only called me when she needed something. We were best friends for 6 years, but looking back, I was only her friend when it was convenient. She called me to vent, cry, complain, but never to celebrate my wins. When I got promoted, she didn't say congratulations. She changed the subject. When I started dating someone new, she told me I was getting ahead of myself. The breaking point? She invited me to her birthday dinner and made me pay for everyone's meal since I had the best job. That night, I realized I wasn't her best friend. I was her emotional ATM. I left without saying a word. 6 months later, she texted, "Miss you. Can we catch up?" I replied, "Sure, just let me know what you need this time." Am I the asshole for saying that?
R/malicious compliance boss told me to stop wasting time talking to customers, so I did. I work in tech retail. I actually care about helping people, so I spend extra time making sure customers understand what they're buying. My manager told me I was wasting time and to just stick to sales, so I did. No explanations, just rang people up and moved on. Returns tripled that week. Support calls blew up. He pulled me into the office like, "What happened?" I said, "I followed your instructions exactly." He backed off. Funny how fast do less turns into please fix it. Our ear choosing beggars. I listed my old Charizard Pokemon card for $250 on Facebook Marketplace. It was one of the few collectibles I kept from childhood. I priced it fair mint condition, original holo. I was selling it because my wife and I are expecting our first son, and I wanted to put the money toward his nursery. A guy messages me and says, $50 cash right now. I reply, "Sorry, the price is firm. It's for something important." He says, "Like what?" "It's just cardboard." I explain, "I'm about to be a dad. We're getting the baby room ready." Then he hits me with, "Exactly. You shouldn't be charging that much if you're starting a family. Be generous." "I'll give it a good home." I said, "My kid will have a good home because I'm not giving away valuable things to people who don't respect them." He called me selfish for not donating my rare Pokemon card to a stranger who lowballed me. I sold it the next day for full price. Used the money to buy a crib. That's called parenting, not charity.
Am I the asshole for refusing to give my sister the baby name I picked years ago? I'm 26 and not pregnant yet, but I've had a baby name picked out since I was 19. It's unique, meaningful, and tied to a memory with my late grandmother. My family has known for years that I plan to use it someday. Last week, during a family dinner, my older sister, who's 8 months pregnant, announced her chosen baby name. It was my name. I reminded her that it's the one I've had planned for years. She shrugged and said, "Well, I'm having a kid first, so I get dibs. You're not even pregnant." I told her that if she uses it, I still plan to use it too. She got upset and said I'd be ruining the name for her child, and that we can't have two kids in the family with the same name. Now my parents are pressuring me to let it go and pick something else when the time comes. But this name means a lot to me, and I don't think being first gives her the right to take it. Am I the asshole for standing my ground on a name she's known I've wanted for years?
Am I the asshole for leaving my girlfriend at a wedding after she kept embarrassing me? My girlfriend has this habit of making fun of me in front of people for laughs. I've asked her to stop. At a wedding we attended recently, she joked that I probably cry during Marvel movies and use baby shampoo because real stuff hurts my eyes. Everyone laughed. I pulled her aside and asked her to stop. She said I was being dramatic, so I quietly got an Uber and left. She blew up my phone for hours saying I embarrassed her by leaving. Her friends called me controlling. I just didn't want to sit through another event where I'm the punchline. Am I the asshole for leaving instead of making a scene?
The gap year that never ended. I told everyone I was taking a gap year before college. Just 1 year to travel, find myself, figure things out. That was 6 years ago. I never went back. I worked odd jobs, couch surfed, and moved cities. I watched friends graduate, get jobs, start families. I kept saying, I'm going back soon. But the truth is, I got scared. Scared I wouldn't catch up, that I'd be the oldest one in the room, that I'd fail before I even started. Now I'm 25, flipping burgers and still telling people I'm figuring things out. Sometimes a gap year isn't a pause. Sometimes it's a runaway.
Almost got scammed in Paris. I was traveling alone in Paris when a friendly woman approached me near the Eiffel Tower. She smiled, said she was practicing her English, and asked if I'd help her with a charity petition. I said sure. She handed me a clipboard. Names, fake donations, all in messy handwriting. Then she pointed to a blank spot and said, "Just sign, then give your donation. Minimum 50 euros." I hesitated. She suddenly got pushy. Another guy came over. Same fake smile. That's when I grabbed the clipboard, flipped it over, and saw, "Do not fall for this," written in tiny letters. Someone else had warned me. I handed it back, smiled, and walked away. They didn't follow. Am I the asshole for not giving up my plane seat for a mom and her kid? So I, 28F, recently took a long flight for a work trip. Because I knew it would be exhausting, I paid extra to select a window seat ahead of time. Aisle seats make me anxious, and I like leaning against the window to sleep. When I got to my row, a woman, probably in her early 40s, was sitting in my seat with her young son, maybe 7 or 8, in the middle seat. I politely told her I had the window seat, and she just smiled and said, "Oh, I was hoping we could switch so I can sit next to my son." I glanced at her boarding pass. Her assigned seat was a middle seat in the very back of the plane. I asked, "What seat are you in?" She pointed to it and shrugged. I said, "Sorry, but I paid extra for this seat. I really need the window seat." Her smile dropped immediately. She let out this loud, exaggerated sigh and muttered, "Wow, some people have no compassion." Then she turned to her son and, loud enough for everyone around us to hear, said, "Sorry, sweetie, this lady won't let mommy sit with you. I guess you'll just have to sit all alone with a stranger." Now people were staring. A guy in the aisle seat looked uncomfortable. The flight attendant came over, and this woman immediately went full performance mode. "I just want to sit with my child, and she's refusing to switch. I don't understand how someone can be so selfish." The flight attendant looked at me, and I calmly said, "I paid extra for this window seat. I'm happy to trade with someone else for a comparable seat, but I'm not taking a middle seat in the back." The attendant turned to the mom and said, "Ma'am, you'll have to sit in your assigned seat unless another passenger is willing to switch." That's when she really lost it. She grabbed her bags aggressively, made a huge scene stomping to the back, and kept muttering, "I hope you sleep well knowing you made a child suffer." Meanwhile, the guy next to me gave me a thumbs up and whispered, "You did the right thing." I thought that was the end of it. But when I told my family later, my mom said, "You should have just switched. It wasn't that big of a deal." Now I'm wondering, am I the asshole? She sold our childhood home without telling me. When my mom passed, the house went to me and my sister. We both agreed not to sell it. It held too many memories. A few months later, I drove by to check on it and saw a for sale sign in the yard. I called her, confused. She said, "It was the right time. You weren't using it anyway." Turns out she forged my signature to push the sale through. She pocketed the cash. I didn't even get a key to the storage unit with our mom's things. I took legal action, and we don't speak anymore. People say, "But she's your sister." And I say, blood doesn't excuse betrayal. I believe I did the right thing, but sometimes I do wonder if it was worth losing my sister.
She said it was a mistake. After it was too late. We dated for 3 years. I thought she was the one. We talked about moving in, getting a dog, all of it. Then one night, I noticed she started hiding her phone, changed her password. I asked her if something was going on. She said I was just being insecure. 2 weeks later, I got the confirmation I didn't want a mutual friend told me she had been seeing someone else behind my back. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just walked away. No closure, no second chances. A year passed. I worked on myself, landed a new job, got fit, and met someone who actually respects me. Then out of nowhere, she messaged me. "I regret everything. Can we talk?" I left it unread. Some people only realize your worth after they've lost it. By then, you've already outgrown their apology.
What's your "I just dodged a bullet" moment? I was going to propose to her. I had the ring, the dinner booked, the whole speech in my notes app. But the night before, I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. So I opened her laptop not to snoop, but because mine was dead and I needed to check a file. Her messages were still open, group chats, screenshots, her and her friends laughing about how I was comfortable, not exciting, saying things like, "I'll probably say yes, but keep my options open." I sat there reading every word with the ring in my pocket. I never proposed. I never even told her I saw it. I just told her I needed space and walked out of her life. A year later, she DM'd me. I miss what we had, and I thought to myself, I didn't lose her. I dodged her.
The office jerk who got what he deserved. So, I, 29F, work in a mid-sized corporate office, and for years we had to deal with Todd, 35M, the classic office jerk. You know the type. Loud, obnoxious, lazy, and somehow always taking credit for other people's work. Todd wasn't just annoying, he was a bully. He'd belittle junior employees, make sexist jokes in meetings, and worst of all, he was the boss's golf buddy. So no matter how much he slacked off, he never faced consequences. One time, my coworker Lisa, 27F, spent weeks working on a detailed client report, only for Todd to submit it under his name. She confronted him, and he just smirked and said, "It's all about who gets seen, sweetheart." Yeah, that kind of guy. Well, karma was waiting. Our company was planning a major expansion, and upper management announced they'd be choosing a new regional manager. Todd, of course, was acting like it was already his. He even joked, "Guess I should start picking out my new office." Little did he know, we were all sick of him. So a few of us, including Lisa, decided to play it smart. We started forwarding emails. Every time Todd took credit for someone else's work, we made sure to CC upper management. We collected receipts. Lisa had actual timestamps proving Todd never worked on the projects he claimed. We exposed his biggest lie. Todd had been faking sales reports to look more impressive. But we cross-checked them, and, surprise, the numbers didn't add up. When the final decision was made, Todd walked into the meeting cocky as ever and walked out looking like a ghost. Turns out, upper management had been watching. Not only did they deny him the promotion, but when they confronted him about the falsified sales reports, he was fired on the spot. The best part? Lisa got the promotion instead. And Todd? The last we heard, he was working for a competitor in an entry-level position.
The inheritance letter. I grew up thinking my older brother Daniel was my best friend. We were only 3 years apart, inseparable as kids. Our parents ran a small vineyard in Northern California, and the plan was always that Daniel and I would take it over together one day, or so I thought. When my mom passed away suddenly 2 years ago, things changed. Our dad became quieter and Daniel took the reins, hosting meetings with distributors, hiring staff, handling all the numbers. I was more involved with the land and the grapes, up at 5 a.m., pruning, managing the harvest crew, doing the gritty work, and I loved it. I thought we were building something side by side. Then my dad got sick last year. It happened fast. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. In the weeks before he passed, he pulled me aside and told me, "You'll have what you need when I'm gone." I promise I held on to those words like a lifeline. A month after his funeral, Daniel called a family meeting at the vineyard office. He pulled out a sleek envelope and said, "Dad updated the will right before he died." I was surprised, and he never mentioned that to me. The lawyer opened the letter and read it aloud. Everything, and I mean everything, was left to Daniel. The vineyard, the land, the house, even Dad's old pickup truck. The only thing I got was a note in my dad's handwriting that read, "I hope you find your own path, son. I trust Daniel to take care of things." I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was underwater, watching my whole life dissolve. After the lawyer left, I asked Daniel if he'd forged the will. He laughed, actually laughed, and said, "It's not forgery if he signed it willingly." Turns out, while I was out tending the vines and sleeping on the floor during harvest season, Daniel was slowly convincing our dad that I didn't have the business sense to run the place, that I was too soft, that the vineyard needed someone tougher to survive. I didn't even get a chance to defend myself. Now I live in a small apartment 40 minutes away, working at a different winery. Every once in a while, I pass by the old vineyard. The vines still grow the way I trained them to, but I don't stop. I don't look back. I don't call Daniel anymore. The land used to be home. Now it just feels like a wound.
Who is someone you respect? The person I respect most? My mom. She raised 3 kids alone after my dad walked out, worked 2 jobs, came home exhausted, but still made dinner and asked how our day was. I remember one night I heard her crying quietly in the kitchen while folding laundry. She wiped her eyes before we came in, smiled like everything was fine. I was only 11, but I knew that smile was hiding everything. We didn't have much, but we never felt poor. She made holidays special, showed up to every school play, every game, even if it meant missing sleep. Now that I'm older, I realize what she gave up just to give us stability, and she never once asked for thanks. I respect her not just for surviving, but for loving us so much we didn't even notice we were struggling.
Am I the asshole for refusing to let my parents move in after they gave my college fund to my brother? I, 30, have always been the responsible child, while my younger brother, Jake, 28, was the golden boy. My parents favored him openly. He got whatever he wanted, while I had to work for everything. The biggest betrayal? They gave my entire college fund to Jake. I found out when I was 18, right before college. I had been accepted into my dream university, and when I went to discuss tuition, my parents casually said, "Oh, we used that money to help Jake start his business. You can take out loans." Jake's business? A luxury sneaker reselling scheme. It failed within a year. I was furious but had no choice. I took out loans, worked multiple jobs, and barely scraped by while Jake stayed home playing video games, waiting for my parents to fund his next big idea. Fast forward to now. I worked my ass off, built a solid career, bought a house, and became financially stable. Jake? Still mooching off my parents, unemployed and living in their basement. Here's where the karma kicks in. A few months ago, my parents lost their house due to financial mismanagement. Suddenly, they're calling me, asking to move in. I told them no. They tried guilt-tripping me. "We're family. We raised you. How can you let us struggle?" I reminded them that they made their choice years ago when they decided Jake's business was more important than my future. I told them, "You have a son living in your basement. Go live with him." Now, the whole family is divided. Some say I'm being cruel and should forgive and forget. Others, especially my friends, say I owe them nothing. Aida for refusing to let my parents move in after they gave away my future.
Am I the asshole for leaving my best friend's wedding early because there was no vegetarian food? I've been vegetarian for years, and my best friend knows that. It's not a recent change. It's something I've stuck to for personal and ethical reasons, and she's always been aware of it. When I confirmed I'd be attending her wedding, I even followed up and asked if there would be vegetarian options. She said yes, of course, not to worry. So I didn't. But when I got to the reception, literally every single food option had meat. The pasta had chicken. The salad had bacon bits. Even the hors d'oeuvres were all meat-based. I asked one of the servers quietly if there was anything vegetarian-friendly, and he apologized and said no. Nothing. I didn't want to cause a scene or make her day about me, so I smiled, sat through the speeches, clapped during the toasts, and then slipped out after everything formal was done. I didn't say goodbye because I figured she wouldn't even notice with all the people around. Later that night, she texted me asking why I left early. I explained the food situation and said I didn't want to make a big deal, but I also didn't want to sit there starving all night. She responded by saying I was being selfish and dramatic and that it was her day. I didn't argue, but the message stung. I went out of my way to be respectful, and now I'm wondering if I really was out of line. Am I the asshole for quietly leaving a wedding where I literally couldn't eat anything?
Just to check, I was adopted at 9. I thought I finally had a family, but they never hugged me, never celebrated my birthday. I ate dinner alone while their real kids got seconds. I thought maybe it was me, that I wasn't lovable enough. Then I turned 18 and everything stopped. No more cold dinners, no fake smiles, just silence. One night, I found an old letter from the state, monthly checks, my name on it. I wasn't a son, I was income. I packed my things and left that week. No fight, no goodbye, just freedom. They haven't called once. Guess the money really was the only thing they cared about. With the message I never deleted. It's been 3 years and I still haven't deleted the voicemail. It's not long, just my dad saying he'd be late to dinner, that he'd make it up to me. He never got the chance. Car accident, wrong place, wrong time. That voicemail used to hurt to hear. I couldn't even press play without crying. But now, it's different. Now it reminds me that even on an ordinary day, someone can leave behind something that stays with you forever. I don't listen to it often, just when I miss him a little more than usual. And somehow hearing "Hey kiddo" again still makes me feel like he's right there.
Am I the asshole for not letting my dad walk me down the aisle after he ghosted my childhood? I'm 25 and getting married in a few months. My dad left when I was 8. No calls, no visits, no birthday cards, nothing. My mom raised me alone. Last year, my dad suddenly reached out, said he wanted to reconnect and be there for my big moments. I've been polite, but distant. At a family dinner last week, he asked if he could walk me down the aisle. I said no. He looked shocked, then upset. I told him that moment was already reserved for the person who actually raised me my mom. Now his side of the family is calling me ungrateful and cold-hearted. But I don't feel bad. He made his choices. Am I the asshole for not giving him the moment he walked away from years ago?
Am I the asshole for refusing to help my brother move after he called my job useless? I work in IT support. Not flashy, but it pays well and I like it. Last weekend, my brother asked if I could help him move. I said I had work on Saturday but could help Sunday. He laughed and said, "You work in tech. Isn't that just Googling stuff and sitting all day?" I told him that if my job was that easy, he could figure out moving without me. Now he's upset, saying I took it too personally and that family helps family. I said respect goes both ways. Our parents think I should have helped anyway. Am I the asshole for standing my ground?
Am I the asshole for telling my sister her wedding isn't a good enough reason to skip my graduation? I 22nd am graduating college this June. It's a big deal for me, first in the family, lots of student debt, and I worked full-time while studying. My older sister, 27, recently got engaged and just announced her wedding date is the same weekend as my graduation. When I brought it up, she said, "It's just a ceremony. You can celebrate later." I told her I wasn't skipping my own graduation, and she got offended saying I was being selfish for not putting her big day first. Our mom is stuck in the middle, but leaning toward attending the wedding. I feel hurt, like all my effort means nothing. Now I'm getting texts from my family saying I'm being dramatic. Am I the asshole for not dropping everything for her wedding?
Am I the asshole for asking my girlfriend to pay me back for half the groceries? I've been dating my girlfriend for about 6 months. She stays over at my place around 4 nights a week and eats most of her meals here. I do all the grocery shopping and cooking, and while I enjoy it, it's been adding up financially. Last week I brought it up casually. I said, "Hey, since you're here most of the week, would you be open to splitting the grocery bill?" I wasn't rude, I wasn't demanding, just honest. She looked at me like I'd insulted her, said, "Seriously?" and got super quiet. Since then, she's barely texted me, canceled our weekend plans, and has been really distant. I didn't mean to upset her, I just thought it was fair. Am I the asshole for asking her to pitch in?
Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my nephew after my sister called me just an accountant? I am 27, working full-time as an accountant and have a pretty demanding job, especially during tax season. My sister, Anna, 32, is a stay-at-home mom to my 4-year-old nephew, and she constantly asks me to babysit whenever she needs a break. I help when I can, but I've made it clear that my job is stressful and I don't always have the time. Last week, we were at a family dinner when she started venting about how exhausted she was and how I should step up as an uncle. I reminded her that I work long hours and don't have the flexibility she does. That's when she laughed and said, "Oh, please, you just sit at a desk all day. You're not a doctor or a firefighter. You're just an accountant." I was stunned. I work my ass off and my job pays for my apartment, my car, and everything I have. I told her if she really thought my job was so easy, she should go do it herself. She got defensive and said she was just joking, but I wasn't laughing. A few days later, she texted asking if I could babysit this weekend. I replied, "Sorry, I'm just an accountant, so I'm too busy sitting at my desk all day." She blew up, calling me petty and immature, and my mom says I should be the bigger person because family helps family. Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit after what she said?
I tried to help her leave. She's been my best friend since middle school. We've been through everything together, breakups, bad grades, family drama. But nothing prepared me for this. When she first started dating him, I was happy for her. He seemed charming, always texting her, always around. But then it changed. She stopped smiling as much, started apologizing for things she didn't need to. I noticed the little things, how she checked her phone constantly like she was scared to miss a text, how she flinched when his name popped up on the screen. He isolated her from everyone, told her I was a bad influence, that I was jealous. She started canceling our plans, stopped showing up altogether. When I finally got her alone, I told her what I saw, that he was controlling her, that love isn't supposed to feel like fear. She said I didn't understand, that he had been through a lot, that he only acts that way because he loves her too much. I wanted to scream. I told her, "You're not fixing him. He's breaking you." She cried, but she still went back. I haven't given up on her. But it hurts watching someone you love defend the person who's destroying them. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for making my wife sit in the back seat while my mom rode in front? My wife and I were picking up my mom for dinner. When we got to her house, I asked my wife if she could sit in the back seat so my mom could sit in the front. She hesitated but agreed without making a scene. The dinner went fine, but later that night, she told me it really bothered her. She said it felt like I was putting my mom above her and that she felt disrespected. I told her it wasn't a big deal. My mom is older and it's just a seat. She said it's about what the gesture represents. Now she's distant and barely speaking to me. I really didn't mean to upset her, but I think she's overreacting. Am I the asshole?
My roommate reported my dog to the landlord after I said no to her boyfriend sleeping over. Our lease clearly says no pets, but when I moved in, I disclosed everything. My emotional support dog, the official paperwork, and even got written approval from the landlord. Everything was legit. Fast forward 6 months and my roommate starts letting her boyfriend practically live with us. He's over 4, sometimes 5 nights a week, leaving his stuff everywhere. I politely asked her if she could just give me a heads up when he's staying that often. She rolled her eyes, said sure, and walked off. The very next morning, I got an email from our landlord. A formal noise complaint about my dog barking too much, and a reminder that pets aren't allowed. It was anonymous, but come on. The timing couldn't be more obvious. So I went right to the lease, found the guest clause, and reported her for having an unauthorized long-term guest. Now she's getting warnings and suddenly wants to talk things out and not make it messy. Too late. You wanted to play petty? You just found out I play better.
The inheritance letter. I grew up thinking my older brother Daniel was my best friend. We were only 3 years apart, inseparable as kids. Our parents ran a small vineyard in Northern California, and the plan was always that Daniel and I would take it over together one day, or so I thought. When my mom passed away suddenly 2 years ago, things changed. Our dad became quieter and Daniel took the reins, hosting meetings with distributors, hiring staff, handling all the numbers. I was more involved with the land and the grapes, up at 5 a.m., pruning, managing the harvest crew, doing the gritty work, and I loved it. I thought we were building something side by side. Then my dad got sick last year. It happened fast. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. In the weeks before he passed, he pulled me aside and told me, "You'll have what you need when I'm gone." I promise I held on to those words like a lifeline. A month after his funeral, Daniel called a family meeting at the vineyard office. He pulled out a sleek envelope and said, "Dad updated the will right before he died." I was surprised, and he never mentioned that to me. The lawyer opened the letter and read it aloud. Everything, and I mean everything, was left to Daniel. The vineyard, the land, the house, even Dad's old pickup truck. The only thing I got was a note in my dad's handwriting that read, I hope you find your own path, son. I trust Daniel to take care of things. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was underwater, watching my whole life dissolve. After the lawyer left, I asked Daniel if he'd forged the will. He laughed, actually laughed, and said, "It's not forgery if he signed it willingly. Turns out, while I was out tending the vines and sleeping on the floor during harvest season, Daniel was slowly convincing our dad that I didn't have the business sense to run the place, that I was too soft, that the vineyard needed someone tougher to survive. I didn't even get a chance to defend myself. Now I live in a small apartment 40 minutes away, working at a different winery. Every once in a while, I pass by the old vineyard. The vines still grow the way I trained them to, but I don't stop. I don't look back. I don't call Daniel anymore. The land used to be home. Now it just feels like a wound."
I told my boss I wasn't coming in from the hospital bed. I was in the ER with an infection, fever, and dehydration. I had an IV in one arm, heart monitor on my chest, and my phone buzzed with a message from my manager. "Hey, can you still check emails from your laptop while you're admitted?" I stared at the screen and thought it was a joke. I sent her a photo of my hospital wristband and said, "I'm being treated. I can't work right now." She left me on red, not even a "hope you're okay." The very next day, I got a call from HR saying my attendance was being flagged and that leadership had concerns about my reliability. After one emergency? One. No mention of the unpaid overtime I've done. No appreciation for covering other people's shifts. Just a warning. That's when I realized these jobs will watch you fall apart and still call you the problem for not standing. Blocked in. Janelle had lived in the same townhouse for 5 years. Quiet street, friendly neighbors, decent HOA, and no major issues. Except for Ray. Ray moved in 2 doors down with his loud music, mystery Amazon packages, and one incredibly annoying habit, parking his car in front of Janelle's garage. Not just once, not twice. All. The time. At first, she let it go. Figured he'd realize it was someone's garage and move. But no, Ray acted like the space in front of her garage was his personal driveway. Meanwhile, she was stuck either honking at 7 a.m. or squeezing her car through a sliver of an opening just to get to work. She left a polite note. He ignored it. She knocked on his door once. He opened it halfway, nodded like he heard her, then parked there again the next day. She reported it to the HOA. They sent him a warning. He laughed about it on speakerphone with someone. Janelle could hear him through the wall. So she got smart. Next time Ray parked there, Janelle called a tow truck. The sign posted on the gate was clear. No blocking driveways or garages. She had receipts, photos, timestamps, and everything. 30 minutes later, his car was gone. Ray stormed over, red-faced and furious. "You could have just asked." "I did," Janelle said calmly. "Twice. You didn't care." He tried to report her to the HOA, but the board sided with her. And just to drive the point home, they hit him with a fine and a formal notice. Next time, he'd be on probation. Ray didn't speak to her again, but he never parked there again either. Funny how fast people learn when their car disappears.